The heavy steel doors of the prison clang shut behind you, and in that instant, the world you once knew is gone. No freedom, no comfort, no privacy. Only the harsh, unyielding reality of life inside one of America's most dangerous prisons. Every step you take echoes down cold, sterile hallways, lined with razor wire fences, iron bars, and guards whose eyes have seen more violence than most could imagine in a lifetime. The smell hits you first, faintly metallic, mixed with sweat, stale food, and the underlying tension of fear that hangs in the air like a permanent fog. Here, fear is not just an emotion. It's a survival tool, and you must wield it with precision or risk losing everything. This is not a place for the faint-hearted. It is a place where reputations are earned with blood and power is claimed through intimidation. Inmates who walk these halls each have a story, some tragic, some violent, all shaped by choices that have led them to this fortress of despair. And yet, despite the brutality, there's a strict, invisible code that governs every interaction. Break it, and you'll pay the price. Follow it, and you might just survive another day. Brutal days are the norm. Mornings start not with the chirping of birds or the aroma of coffee, but with a cacophony of banging metal doors and shouted orders. Inmates are forced to rise before dawn, line up in regimented rows, and submit to inspection. Every movement is monitored. Every whisper is potentially a threat. Even small mistakes, a tardy roll call, a misaligned bed, a dropped tray, can trigger punishments designed to break your spirit. And outside, the world seems like a distant memory, a life left behind as the gates slam closed. Food, in this environment, becomes more than just sustenance. It becomes power, control, and sometimes a weapon. The meals served are minimal, repetitive, and often barely edible. Yet, for some, even a single loaf of bread can be a bargaining chip, traded for favors, protection, or information. Every corner, every meal, every moment is a negotiation, a battle for survival where even the smallest misstep can have life-altering consequences. The rules here are not written on paper. They are written in actions, in silences, and in the way others look at you. Some rules are known to all. Respect authority, don't snitch, avoid conflict when possible. Others are whispered in the shadows, secret alliances, unwritten codes, and ways to gain leverage over both inmates and guards. Breaking a rule, even unknowingly, can turn a man's life upside down in an instant. Friendships are fleeting. Trust is a rare commodity. In this environment, everyone is sizing you up, watching for weakness, ready to exploit it. But it's not just the inmates who shape this brutal ecosystem. Guards patrol with calculated authority, some indifferent, some cruel. Their presence is constant, a reminder that every action is being watched. They enforce the rules with unwavering discipline, but also with discretion, sometimes letting small infractions slide, sometimes making an example of someone to assert control. Power dynamics shift constantly, and understanding who holds influence, both in uniform and behind bars, is a matter of survival. The stories that emerge from these walls are shocking, yet eerily human. They are tales of betrayal, resilience, desperation, and cunning. There are moments of courage, an inmate defending a weaker peer, a rare act of kindness in a world dominated by cruelty. There are moments of horror, the sudden flare-ups of violence, the silent intimidation, the whispered threats that can echo louder than any shout. And through it all, life continues, day after day, a monotonous yet dangerous rhythm where each sunrise is a test of endurance, and each nightfall brings the uncertainty of what tomorrow will hold. As you move deeper into this world, you begin to notice patterns, small cracks in the fortress of fear. You see how some navigate the labyrinth of rules and relationships with skill, turning danger into an advantage. You notice the subtle ways respect is earned, not through physical strength alone, but through cunning, intelligence, and the ability to anticipate threats. And yet, for every success, there is failure waiting, always ready to strike those who falter. This is life in America's most dangerous prison, a place where brutality is normalized, rules are unwritten, and every decision can mean the difference between survival and disaster. As we expose these realities, the untold stories begin to emerge, the hidden struggles of inmates, the secret networks that operate beneath the surface, and the unseen consequences of a system designed to punish, control, and contain. And as we step further into these walls, you will see it for yourself. The raw truth behind the bars, the hidden lives of those who live and survive in constant danger, and the shocking reality of a world most of us will never know. By the end of this journey, you will not only witness the harsh truths of prison life, you will understand the delicate balance of fear, power, and survival that defines it. This is not just a story of confinement. It is a story of the human spirit under extreme pressure, the choices we make when pushed to the edge, and the shocking realities of a system that hides its most dangerous secrets behind locked doors. Before we begin, tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us uncover the darkest corners of the prison system. Now let's step inside. The moment the gates of the prison slammed shut behind me, a cold, suffocating weight settled in my chest. The clanging of the steel doors echoed through the compound like a death knell, a sound that promised there was no turning back. Outside, the world continued its mundane rhythm. Cars honking, birds chirping, people rushing to work. But inside, time moved differently. Every second stretched longer, every noise carried meaning, and every glance could be a threat. The first thing that hits anyone entering this fortress is the air. It's thick, metallic, and heavy with a strange mixture of sweat, bleach, and something indefinably sinister. The hallways are narrow and claustrophobic, lined with tall, gray walls that seem to close in. Surveillance cameras occupy every corner, their red lights blinking like unblinking eyes, reminding you that everything you do is being watched. Guards patrol in groups, their boots clicking on the concrete floors, a rhythmic reminder of authority and control. They speak sparingly, and when they do, it's in a tone that brooks no argument. I'm immediately taken to the intake area, a vast room where new inmates are processed into the system. The walls are bare except for a few security notices, and the floor is a dull, scuffed gray. Here, the air is even thicker with tension. Men of all sizes, ethnicities, and ages sit in silence, their faces hardened, eyes darting constantly. Some speak quietly to one another, but most remain still, trying to make themselves small, inconspicuous. Every few minutes, a shout from a guard snaps the silence, a sharp reminder that order is enforced with precision, and mistakes can be punished mercilessly. As I move through the processing line, I begin to notice the microcosm of prison society forming around me. There are men who seem calm, almost resigned, their eyes hollow but alert. Others are bristling, muscles tense, ready to assert themselves at the first sign of weakness. I can feel the invisible scanning, the assessment of threat and opportunity, the silent calculations of who is powerful, who is vulnerable, and who might be useful. The intake officer explains the basic rules, but it becomes immediately clear that these are only the official rules. The real rules are unspoken, learned through observation, whispers, and experience. Don't snitch. Don't look weak. Respect the hierarchy. These are the rules that govern survival, and breaking them, even unknowingly, can have severe consequences. Next comes the uniform. The simple orange jumpsuit is heavy, coarse, and uncomfortable, but it is a symbol as much as clothing. It strips individuality, reminding each inmate that they are now part of a system that demands conformity. Along with the uniform comes the ID number, a permanent reminder that names no longer matter. Identity is reduced to a series of numbers, each one representing a life now controlled entirely by rules and routines. After processing, I am escorted to the cell block. The corridor is long and narrow, lined with rows of cells. Each cell has a small, barred window, and inside, a metal bunk, a thin mattress, and nothing else. The sound is overwhelming, clanging doors, shouting inmates, distant alarms, and the ever-present hum of fluorescent lights. The cells themselves are stark, functional, and oppressive. Personal space is non-existent, and privacy is a concept long forgotten by anyone who enters these walls. My cellmates arrive shortly after, each bringing their own presence, their own story, and their own power dynamics. One is older, wiry, and quiet, with eyes that have seen too much. Another is young, muscular, and tense, radiating energy and unpredictability. The unspoken rules of the block begin immediately. Hierarchies are established through posture, tone of voice, and subtle gestures. A careless glance or an ill-timed comment can shift power dynamics instantly. Lunch comes early, and it's a revelation in itself. The food is basic, repetitive, and often unappetizing. Mashed potatoes, grayish meat, and a piece of bread that looks as though it has been handled hundreds of times before reaching the tray. But the real lesson comes not from taste, but from how the food is distributed and consumed. Some inmates hoard, some trade, some bully weaker men to gain control of portions. A loaf of bread can be worth more than gold. A misstep in the dining hall, a spilled tray, a spoken complaint can trigger confrontation. I watch carefully, realizing that even mundane routines are battles for respect and survival. By mid-afternoon, I begin to see the complex social web that keeps this brutal ecosystem functioning. Alliances form quietly, often with subtle nods or whispered words. Enemies are identified through body language, tone, or even mere presence. Trust is rare, and information is currency. Every conversation is a test, every gesture analyzed. I notice one inmate teaching another how to navigate the guard rotations, passing on knowledge that could mean the difference between safety and attack. Violence is never far from the surface. A sudden argument in the corner escalates quickly, shoving, shouting, a heavy clang of metal against metal. Guards intervene, separating the men with practiced efficiency, but the message is clear. The rules here are enforced not only by authority, but by the immediate threat of physical consequences. Even small infractions are remembered, and reputations are fragile. A single mistake can define how others perceive you, sometimes permanently. The evening brings the first real challenge: lockdown. Doors slam shut, lights dim, and the isolation of the cell becomes suffocating. The silence is thick, punctuated only by distant noises, the shuffle of feet, the clanging of doors, the occasional shout or muffled cry. It's in these moments that fear becomes palpable, and every sound seems amplified. I lie on the hard bunk, listening, aware that any wrong move could provoke trouble, and any misjudged glance could be remembered come morning. Sleep is elusive. The mind replays the day's observations, the tension, the subtle power struggles, the rules learned without being taught. The cell walls, once impersonal, now feel like a trap. The faint glow of a fluorescent light outside the window illuminates shadows that seem to move with their own intent. Outside, the world continues unaware of the reality inside, a stark reminder that this life is entirely separate from anything known before. By the end of the first day, the reality is clear. Survival here requires constant vigilance, understanding of invisible rules, and the ability to navigate a world where every interaction carries weight. This is not a place where weakness is tolerated, where mistakes are forgiven, or where safety is guaranteed. Every day is a test, every moment a challenge, and the stakes could not be higher. Life in this prison is brutal, unrelenting, and unforgiving, but it is also fascinating. Within these walls, human behavior is distilled to its most raw and primal forms. Fear, power, cunning, and resilience dominate every choice. As I settle in for the night, I know that this is only the beginning. The first day is always the hardest, and the real lessons are yet to come. The next morning, the prison awakens with a sound unlike anything outside its walls. The metallic clang of doors opening and closing echoes through the corridors, a sound that has become the heartbeat of this place. It is a call to action, a signal that the day has begun, and every inmate must resume their role in this harsh ecosystem. Those first few moments of daylight are deceptively calm, a brief pause before the currents of tension sweep through every hallway, every cell, every interaction. Breakfast is served quickly, trays sliding along the counter with the precision of a machine. The food is nothing remarkable. Oatmeal that sticks to the bowl, gray slices of meat, and bread that could double as a weapon. But here, its distribution is a test of observation and patience. Inmates jockey for position, pushing subtly, gauging each other's reactions, sizing up the competition. I watch a young inmate attempt to take more than his share. The older, wiry man from the previous day leans in, whispers something, and suddenly the younger one steps back, his face flushing with humiliation. A lesson is delivered silently, but the meaning is unmistakable. Know your place, respect others' territory, and understand the unspoken hierarchy. The prison is more than a collection of cells and bars. It is a living organism, and the inmates are both its inhabitants and its ecosystem. Alliances form quickly, sometimes out of necessity, sometimes out of fear. A group of men huddles in a corner, speaking in hushed tones, their words carrying weight far beyond their volume. From a distance, I can sense the invisible lines of loyalty and rivalry. One misstep, one misinterpreted glance, could trigger retaliation that escalates far beyond a simple confrontation. I follow the movements of an inmate I now recognize as a block leader, a man whose calm exterior masks a mind constantly calculating power. He walks with authority, nodding subtly to certain inmates, ignoring others entirely. His presence commands respect, and the others react with deference, their body language signaling submission without a word being spoken. These leaders operate under the invisible laws of the prison, guiding the behaviors of others, punishing those who overstep, and rewarding those who follow the code. By mid-morning, the first true conflict of the day begins. In the exercise yard, a small disagreement over basketball court time escalates rapidly. Voices rise, threats are exchanged, and muscles tense. The altercation could have remained minor, but one man pushes too hard, a shove that triggers a chain reaction. Another inmate lunges, and suddenly a fight is underway, a violent display of raw energy and desperation. Guards rush in, separating the combatants with practiced precision, but the aftermath leaves a mark. The loser of the confrontation is humiliated, his position weakened, while the victor gains subtle status, a reminder that even casual competitions can carry real consequences here. The rules of survival become increasingly clear as the day unfolds. Some are formal, roll calls, meals, and schedules that are strictly enforced. Others are invisible, yet essential. Never appear weak, never snitch, respect the territorial boundaries of others, and always watch for alliances forming in the shadows. One misstep, a poorly chosen word or glance, can be exploited, spreading through the network of inmates like wildfire. The system is delicate, and understanding it is crucial for anyone who hopes to endure. Lunch brings another lesson. Food here is not merely sustenance. It is currency, leverage, and sometimes a weapon. I observe a small trade occurring at a table, a piece of bread exchanged for information about a guard rotation. Another inmate whispers about a rival who is planning retaliation for a minor slight. Every bite, every gesture, every interaction carries hidden meaning. There is an intricate web of favor trading and intelligence gathering that underlies the mundane act of eating. The lesson is simple yet brutal. Everything has value, and nothing is accidental. Afternoon arrives, and with it comes work assignments. Some inmates are sent to the laundry room, others to cleaning duties, while a select few perform maintenance tasks that put them in proximity to guards. Each role carries risks and advantages. Certain jobs allow observation, a subtle accumulation of knowledge about others' movements and habits. Others offer access to tools, information, or even minor influence. A man working in maintenance quietly signals another inmate, a coded system of gestures that conveys warning or instruction. Here, communication is subtle, indirect, and vital for survival. The cell block continues to reveal its complexity as alliances are tested and power shifts occur. A whispered argument turns into a tense standoff as two inmates vie for dominance over a shared space. Each watches the other carefully, measuring reactions, calculating the next move. The air is charged with anticipation, a quiet storm that could erupt at any moment. This is the invisible war of influence that rages constantly, even when no one is fighting outright. Understanding it requires observation, patience, and a willingness to act decisively when opportunity arises. By evening, fatigue begins to set in, but vigilance cannot wane. The first real night in prison teaches a lesson in endurance. The cells are silent now, yet the quiet is deceptive. Every sound, metal clanging, a muffled shout, footsteps, carries meaning. Sleep is a luxury few can afford. The mind replays every interaction, every glance, every sound, parsing it for threats, alliances, and opportunities. I realized that fear is a constant companion, a tool to sharpen focus, but also a weight that can crush those unprepared for the mental strain of confinement. Late in the night, an unexpected event underscores the fragility of control. A minor fight breaks out in a distant cell block, and the echo travels down the corridors like a shockwave. Inmates react immediately, some tense, others shift position, and even guards respond with heightened alertness. It is a stark reminder that chaos can erupt without warning, and preparedness is the only shield against sudden danger. Those who understand this thrive. Those who don't can find themselves victims in an instant. By the end of the second day, the patterns become more apparent. Life in the prison is a constant negotiation, a balancing act between compliance and defiance, between observation and action. Every decision, no matter how small, carries weight. Every movement, every glance, and every word can have consequences that echo long into the future. The invisible rules, the alliances, rivalries, codes, and expectations form a structure that is as rigid as it is subtle. Understanding these rules is not optional. It is essential for survival. What becomes painfully clear is that violence is only one aspect of danger here. The subtler threats, the betrayal, manipulation, and silent intimidation are just as deadly. Power is fluid, shifting with the tides of fear, respect, and influence. Every inmate must navigate this complex system, learning quickly or suffering the consequences. It is a world governed by unspoken laws, where morality is secondary to survival, and where every day is a test of wits, strength, and courage. The night closes in, and I am left alone with my thoughts, the cell walls pressing in, shadows moving like living things. The first full day in this prison has been a brutal education. By now, the lessons are etched into my mind. The third day inside the prison begins with a tension so thick it feels almost physical. The corridors are alive, yet eerily silent between bursts of controlled chaos. Guards patrol the halls with their usual precision, boots striking the floor in a rhythmic cadence that seems to measure the heartbeat of the block. Inmates, meanwhile, move with calculated awareness, eyes constantly scanning, heads tilting just enough to catch the faintest hint of threat or opportunity. Every gesture, every glance, every shift of weight carries meaning, and every mistake could cost more than just pride. Breakfast passes in muted unease. Men eat mechanically, trays clattering against the steel tables, but beneath the surface, a silent war rages. Alliances are tested here. One inmate whispers to another, sharing the location of a rival's prized contraband in exchange for a promise of protection. Another silently monitors, learning who can be manipulated, who is loyal, and who is dangerously unpredictable. It's a world where trust is a weapon and information is a form of currency. By mid-morning, the first major confrontation of the day erupts. In the exercise yard, a dispute over personal space escalates when one inmate accidentally bumps another while reaching for the basketball. The slight is enough to ignite old grudges. Words are exchanged, escalating quickly into shoves and then punches. Within seconds, the fight grows, drawing attention from every corner of the yard. Some men cheer silently from the sidelines. Others scramble to intervene, knowing that involvement carries equal risk and potential reward. Guards arrive swiftly, breaking up the fight before it spirals out of control. But the damage is done. The social hierarchy of the yard shifts. The instigator gains notoriety, the target suffers a loss of respect, and the silent observers take mental notes for the future. In this prison, physical dominance is important, but the subtle social consequences of violence are just as crucial. Every act, no matter how minor, has ripple effects that influence relationships, alliances, and survival. After the altercation, the prison moves into its daily routine of labor assignments. Some inmates are sent to kitchens, others to maintenance, laundry, or cleaning duties. Each assignment is not just work, it is a test. The kitchens are a hub of gossip and power plays, the laundry room a place where subtle threats and alliances are exchanged in the rhythm of folding clothes. I witness firsthand how knowledge and observation are as valuable as strength. A man working in maintenance quietly signals his ally to avoid a certain guard, preventing punishment before it happens. Another exchanges tips about the behavior of a new inmate, information that could be exploited later. Food remains central to survival. At lunch, the trays arrive, and with them, opportunities for both camaraderie and conflict. One inmate covertly offers a portion of his food to another in exchange for a favor, a promise to intervene if a confrontation arises later. Another discreetly steals an extra slice of bread, knowing that the observant guard may or may not notice. The stakes are constant. Even the simplest act of eating is layered with strategy and consequence. By afternoon, the social network of the prison reveals itself in full. Alliances are tested, rivalries flare, and whispers of betrayal circulate. I notice a small group plotting against another, passing coded messages with subtle gestures and glances. The rules are invisible but omnipresent. Respect the hierarchy, never appear weak, gather information, and always anticipate the moves of others. Misjudging even a single interaction can result in humiliation, physical harm, or worse. One of the most unsettling aspects of prison life is the psychological tension that never fully dissipates. Inmates rarely let their guard down, even during moments that seem benign. I watch a man quietly observing others while pretending to read, his eyes flicking constantly, his body tense. Another speaks casually, yet every word is calculated to test reactions, to probe weaknesses. The constant need for vigilance creates a pressure that is exhausting, both physically and mentally. Even brief lapses can have life-altering consequences. A key lesson emerges by mid-afternoon. Information is power, but fear is the currency that ensures obedience. One inmate is quietly chastised by a group of older men for breaking an unspoken rule. The reprimand is subtle, almost invisible to outsiders, but its effect is immediate. The young man slumps, understanding the cost of ignorance. He has learned the first of many lessons. Compliance is not optional, observation is mandatory, and survival depends on understanding the invisible structure of control. Evening brings its own challenges. The prison locks down for the night, doors clanging with a sound that has become both familiar and terrifying. The dim lighting and long shadows create an oppressive atmosphere. Sleep is elusive. Each sound, metallic clangs, distant shouts, the shuffle of feet, triggers a chain of thoughts and anxieties. The mind parses the day, analyzing threats, opportunities, alliances, and mistakes. The walls feel alive, filled with unseen eyes, unseen plans, and unseen dangers. Late into the night, a new revelation surfaces. Not all threats are visible, and not all power is physical. One inmate, quiet and seemingly unremarkable, quietly consolidates influence through manipulation and intelligence. He observes, listens, and subtly guides interactions, weaving a network of loyalty and fear that is invisible but formidable. This demonstrates a truth of prison life that is easy to miss for outsiders. True power often lies in subtlety, strategy, and the ability to navigate the unseen rules. By the end of Chapter 3, the patterns of survival become clear. Life inside the prison is a constant negotiation, an invisible war where every word, gesture, and decision is scrutinized. Violence is only one aspect of the danger. Betrayal, manipulation, and social maneuvering are just as deadly. Alliances form and dissolve, reputations rise and fall, and every day demands vigilance, intelligence, and courage. This is not merely confinement. It is a test of the human mind under extreme pressure. Those who adapt, who understand the invisible rules, and who anticipate danger have a chance to survive. Those who miscalculate, who act without observation or understanding, risk being crushed by a system that operates on fear, power, and unspoken law. As night falls and the prison settles into darkness, one thing becomes unmistakably clear. This is a place where the strongest may not always survive, but the cunning, the patient, and the observant endure. Every day is a battle, and the war is ongoing, invisible, and relentless. The fourth day inside the prison begins with an almost surreal quiet. The corridors, usually alive with the mechanical rhythm of doors and boots, carry an uneasy stillness. But it is only the calm before the storm. In a place like this, moments of peace are fleeting, and the faintest sign of weakness or distraction can ignite chaos. The prison has its own heartbeat, and today it is quickening. Breakfast is a tense affair. Inmates eat quickly, eyes darting around the room, scanning for potential threats, allies, or opportunities. Conversation is sparse, measured, strategic. I notice a group of men huddled in a corner, whispering in low tones, seemingly innocuous to anyone else. But their subtle glances and the slight nods between them signal coordination, planning, and perhaps the seeds of conflict. Here, communication is a secret language, and every exchange carries layers of meaning. The first major incident occurs mid-morning. A dispute in the yard escalates rapidly, triggered by a minor theft. One inmate had discreetly taken another's prized possession, a wristwatch, rare inside these walls, and the tension explodes. Words are exchanged, shoves are delivered, and within moments, punches fly. The fight draws attention from dozens of inmates and guards alike. It is raw, chaotic, and frightening. Muscle, rage, and desperation collide, and the sound of metal banging against metal echoes through the yard. Guards intervene quickly, separating the combatants before injuries become life-threatening. Yet the consequences extend far beyond the physical. Reputation shifts instantaneously. The thief is humiliated, losing the respect he had cautiously earned. The one who confronted him gains subtle authority, his courage noted in silent observation. This is a brutal reminder. In prison, strength is measured not just by violence, but by timing, courage, and perception. After the fight, routines resume, but the undercurrent of tension lingers. The invisible rules, learned through days of observation, govern behavior even in the absence of direct supervision. I notice small gestures, a quick glance, a subtle nod, that signal alliances and loyalties. One inmate discreetly warns another to avoid a particular guard, an act that could save or endanger a life depending on the timing. Knowledge, again, proves to be a critical survival tool. Lunch brings its own lessons. The food, unappetizing yet vital, becomes a medium for negotiation and subtle influence. A loaf of bread changes hands in exchange for protection. An extra portion of meat is traded for information about rival gangs within the prison. Here, every interaction is a test of observation, patience, and strategy. Even something as mundane as eating is layered with social significance, power plays, and potential consequences. By mid-afternoon, the prison's hidden network begins to reveal itself more clearly. Alliances are solidified, rivalries flare, and whispered warnings circulate. I witness a subtle act of manipulation. A quiet inmate, previously unnoticed, positions himself strategically, delivering coded messages and influencing the behavior of others without overt action. This is the essence of invisible power inside these walls. The ability to control outcomes without drawing attention, to wield influence silently while chaos unfolds around you. Later, in the laundry area, tensions rise again. Two inmates argue over a washing machine, and the conflict escalates as each attempts to assert dominance. Physical intimidation, verbal threats, and subtle psychological maneuvers intertwine, creating a tense, almost cinematic struggle for control. Observing this, it becomes evident that power inside the prison is a constant negotiation, not a fixed state. Every interaction, every glance, every decision reshapes the delicate hierarchy. Evening brings the lockdown, and with it, the ever-present tension of confinement. The cells, already oppressive, feel even smaller as shadows stretch across the walls. Inmates retreat to their bunks, yet vigilance never ceases. The mind replays every moment of the day, parsing interactions, calculating threats, and anticipating the next conflict. Fear is omnipresent, but it is also a tool, used by those who understand it to assert control and by those who survive it to remain alive. Nighttime incidents further illustrate the subtle dangers of this environment. In one cell block, a whispered argument escalates to a physical struggle before guards intervene. In another, an inmate uses intimidation to enforce respect, subtly reminding others that even quiet men can hold power if they understand the rules. The prison is a constant theater of tension, where visibility and influence can be as lethal as brute strength. By the end of the fourth day, several truths become undeniable. The rules of survival are complex and often invisible, requiring constant observation, strategic thinking, and psychological acuity. Violence is only one aspect of danger. manipulation, alliances, and social awareness are equally critical. Every inmate is a player in a vast, intricate game where failure to understand the subtle dynamics can result in humiliation, harm, or even worse. This chapter exposes the hidden mechanisms that keep the prison functioning. It is not just about confinement or punishment. It is about maintaining control through fear, influence, and strategic use of both overt and covert power. Those who navigate these waters successfully gain survival, status, and sometimes protection. Those who fail are quickly marginalized, targeted, or broken. As the lights dim and silence falls, the lessons of the day resonate. Nothing in this prison is random, and nothing is without consequence. Alliances must be maintained, threats anticipated, and respect constantly earned. Every day is a calculated balance between action and observation, aggression and subtlety. And as I lie on the hard bunk, I realize that understanding the invisible rules is not just about survival. It is about comprehending a world where every human instinct is tested and every decision matters. The walls of this prison are not just physical. They are psychological, social, and emotional. Life here is not merely endured. It is navigated, analyzed, and survived through constant awareness. By exposing these realities, we glimpse the true cost of confinement, the harshness of invisible rules, and the extraordinary resilience required to survive. The fifth day begins with a restless unease that hangs heavier than ever in the corridors. The prison is no longer merely a physical space. It is a living organism, pulsating with tension, fear, and hidden rivalries. Every footstep on the concrete floors, every clang of a metal door, every shouted order carries meaning. For those inside, the day promises nothing but constant vigilance, calculated choices, and the potential for danger at every turn. Breakfast passes in the usual chaotic rhythm. Inmates eat quickly, conversations measured, glances sharp. Subtle shifts in position, slight nods, and whispered phrases carry messages invisible to outsiders. I noticed the young inmate who had struggled for respect earlier in the week. He moves cautiously, eyes darting around the table, silently calculating who might pose a threat and who could be trusted. It is a delicate dance, one that requires constant attention, strategic thinking, and nerves of steel. The first incident of the day occurs in the exercise yard, a small spark igniting a chain reaction that demonstrates just how fragile control is in this environment. A heated argument over a piece of equipment escalates when one man deliberately shoves another. Words are exchanged, insults fly, and within moments, fists connect, sending bodies crashing to the hard ground. The chaos draws others in, some to fight, some to observe, some to take advantage of the distraction. Guards rush in, separating the combatants, but the tension remains, a residue that permeates every corner of the yard. In the aftermath, the subtle hierarchies are immediately apparent. The instigator gains temporary notoriety, but the consequences of aggression are complex. A higher-ranking inmate observes quietly, noting the incident and deciding who now falls under his influence and who has overstepped boundaries. Survival is not just physical. It is social, political, and psychological. Understanding the invisible power structures is as critical as knowing how to throw a punch. By mid-morning, the prison's hidden systems become more evident. Small groups huddle in corners, exchanging whispered warnings, coded gestures, and subtle signals. One inmate discreetly passes information about a guard rotation to another, knowledge that could prevent punishment or allow a minor act of defiance. Another quietly observes, cataloging alliances, rivalries, and weaknesses. This is the invisible war that underlies every aspect of life here. A game of intelligence, manipulation, and timing, where mistakes can be costly and rewards fleeting. Lunch is another exercise in strategy. Food here is not merely sustenance. It is leverage, currency, and occasionally a weapon. I observe a tense negotiation unfold. One inmate offers a slice of bread in exchange for protection from a rival, while another trades a portion of his meal for critical information about contraband movements. Every action, no matter how small, carries weight. Each choice signals loyalty, fear, or defiance, and these signals ripple through the social fabric of the prison with consequences that may only become clear hours or days later. Afternoon work assignments bring their own dangers. Some are sent to maintenance, others to the laundry or kitchen, and a select few are given tasks that place them close to guards or influential inmates. Here, opportunity and risk intersect. I witness subtle exchanges, a whispered warning, a quick look, a hand gesture. Communication invisible to outsiders, but vital for survival. Knowledge is accumulated quietly, observed carefully, and used strategically, demonstrating that power is often invisible and intelligence as lethal as physical strength. By late afternoon, a particularly shocking incident unfolds in one of the cell blocks. Two rival groups collide over territory, and a sudden outbreak of violence erupts. Fists, improvised weapons, and sheer brute force collide in a chaotic melee. The sound is deafening. Metal against metal, shouted threats, and the scuffle of bodies. Guards intervene quickly, but the aftermath is telling. Those who fought aggressively are respected by some and feared by others, while others are targeted for retaliation later. The delicate balance of power shifts yet again, demonstrating that in this prison, control is never permanent, and dominance is always contested. As evening descends, the lockdown begins. The metal doors clang shut with a sound that reverberates through the cells, a stark reminder of confinement and isolation. The shadows stretch across the walls, creating an oppressive atmosphere. Inmates retreat to their bunks, yet vigilance never wanes. Every sound, footsteps, a whisper, the clatter of metal, demands attention. Sleep is dangerous. Dreams are interrupted by the instinctive need to monitor, anticipate, and survive. Late into the night, hidden alliances and betrayals come into sharper focus. A quiet inmate, previously unnoticed, exerts influence through subtle intimidation and manipulation, reinforcing the lesson that power often resides in the unseen, the patient, and the observant. Meanwhile, tensions simmer elsewhere, unresolved conflicts hinting at future eruptions of violence. Fear and respect are currency, carefully managed, and constantly recalculated by every inmate who hopes to endure. By the end of the day, the lessons are painfully clear. Life in this prison is not merely about surviving physical threats. It is about mastering the psychological landscape, navigating invisible rules, understanding alliances, anticipating betrayals, and asserting influence without drawing fatal attention. Every interaction, no matter how seemingly minor, can alter the balance of power and affect survival. The fifth day has demonstrated the extremes of prison life. Brutal confrontations, manipulative strategies, hidden hierarchies, and constant psychological pressure. Each inmate must navigate these forces carefully, balancing aggression with observation, loyalty with caution, and action with patience. Strength is measured not only by muscle or violence, but by intelligence, adaptability, and understanding of the invisible rules that govern this world. As the lights dim and silence settles over the block, one truth becomes unavoidable. Survival here is a delicate, ongoing negotiation. Every day presents new challenges, new threats, and new revelations. Life in this prison is a relentless test of courage, intelligence, and endurance. Those who adapt and understand its complex systems may survive and even thrive. Those who fail are swiftly reminded of the cost of ignorance, miscalculation, or weakness. Chapter 5 closes with a stark, sobering reality. This is a place where brutality is constant, rules are unspoken but rigid, and the human spirit is tested daily. It is a world of invisible wars, psychological warfare, and extreme survival. The lessons of these days are clear. Fear must be mastered, observation must be constant, and every choice matters. Life in this prison is not merely endured. It is navigated, calculated, and survived against the odds. As the steel doors slam shut one final time and the echoes fade into silence, the truth of life inside America's most dangerous prison becomes unmistakably clear. What begins as confinement quickly transforms into a complex battlefield of survival, where every glance, every word, and every decision carries weight. Here, strength is measured not only in muscle or violence, but in awareness, cunning, and the ability to read the invisible rules that govern every interaction. Through these walls, We've witnessed the harsh reality of daily life. Men navigating constant tension, invisible hierarchies, and the unrelenting psychological pressure of a world defined by fear, respect, and control. From the first day, when the gates closed behind new inmates, to the brutal confrontations and hidden alliances of later days, each moment has revealed a universe of rules that cannot be learned from any handbook or guide. We've seen how food becomes more than sustenance. It is currency, leverage, and sometimes even a weapon. How the smallest gestures, whispers, or glances can ignite conflict or cement loyalty. How power exists not only in fists but in observation, manipulation, and understanding the subtle networks of influence that govern life behind bars. These lessons are harsh, unforgiving, and often invisible to the outside world. The stories uncovered here are as shocking as they are human. Men pushed to extremes by confinement, forced to adapt, strategize, and survive in an environment where trust is rare and betrayal can come from anywhere. Violence is only one thread in a complex web of survival. The real battles are often unseen, fought quietly in whispered words, coded gestures, and carefully calculated decisions. And yet, amid the brutality and fear, there is resilience. There is cunning, patience, and an instinct for survival that drives these men to navigate impossible circumstances. The human spirit, even under extreme pressure, finds a way to endure. Some adapt, some thrive, others falter, but all leave an imprint on the unforgiving walls that hold them. As we step back from the gates, leaving behind the stories of conflict, alliance, and survival, it becomes clear that this world is more than a prison. It is a mirror to human nature at its most raw and unfiltered. Every lesson, every struggle, every moment of tension reflects the choices, instincts, and courage required to survive. The truth exposed in these walls is not just about punishment, confinement, or fear. It is about human behavior, resilience, and the invisible laws that govern life in extreme conditions. It is a testament to the strength and complexity of those who endure, survive, and navigate a world where the rules are unspoken and the consequences are relentless. Life inside America's most dangerous prison is brutal, relentless, and unforgiving. But it is also a profound study of survival, human nature, and the invisible forces that shape every interaction. To truly understand it is to understand a side of humanity most of us will never witness, yet one that is strikingly revealing, shocking, and unforgettable. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Stay curious, stay aware, and remember,